Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Please ensure to like, share, and subscribe. And also click the bell notification in the top right-hand corner to be made aware anytime I upload tutorials or videos to YouTube. All right, let's craft together. Hey guys, so continuing on with my Christmas gift to you, I'm going to continue my journey with these tutorials, these crafting tutorials to help you out going into 2022. So we've already completed our sublimation tutorial, which was over an hour long. I'm going to try to make this one shorter than that, but we're going to be talking about fabric transfers. This is when you want to iron an image onto your t-shirt or press an image onto your t-shirt or your jeans or whatever you want to press it onto. A bag, fabric bag, or something like that. So this is your fabric transfer, okay? Fabric transfers, you're not using sublimation ink, you're using your inkjet, Now they do have some fabric transfers that require laser printers, so you want to make sure that you are using the fabric transfers that specifically say inkjet printers, okay? So this is what you're going to be using, inkjet ink, and you need fabric transfer paper. So you want to make sure that they match, okay? If you have laser printer paper and inkjet ink, it's not going to work. That paper is going to be too thick to go into your inkjet printer. It's not going to work. So you want to make sure you have inkjet ink, inkjet fabric transfers, okay? In this pen and gear fabric transfer, this packet comes with 15 sheets. It's going to have 10 light and 5 dark. I wish it was the other way around because I use more dark than I do light, but you know, those are the breaks. In this packet, it's going to come with your light fabric transfer paper. Your light fabric transfer paper is going to have 2 red lines going down the back. And it may be very hard for you guys to see it. Let me see. It may be hard for you to see it, there, but there's 2 red lines going down the back of this paper. That's an indication that it's for light fabric transfers. And you're also going to have the corresponding instructions for light fabric transfers in here too. And you're going to have a silicone sheet. So you got your silicone sheet, you got your, you can see I don't use this one to the bejesus. And you're going to have your instructions for light fabric transfers. So light fabric transfers are going to have the instruction. Header is going to be in red. Let me see if here it is. So this is going to be your light fabric transfer. It says white, but it's actually for light fabric transfers. So red lines going down the back of your transfer sheet is an indication that that is for light fabric transfers, hence the red writing up here. Red writing, red lines, okay? Your dark fabric transfers is going to be in blue, and you're going to have 2 blue lines going down the back of the paper. So you got a blue border and you got blue lines, so you can't mess up. They have it really, really laid out nicely for you. And then you're going to have 2 silicone sheets in here. This is not just divider paper or paper, that they just threw in here. These are for you to use in between your press and your image, okay? So you definitely need your silicone sheet there. And like I said, you're going to get, in this packet, it comes with 10 light fabric transfers and 1 dark fabric transfer. One of the things I want to point out is that if you don't have a heat press, you can use an iron to do fabric transfers, but you do not want to iron directly on top of an ironing board, okay? So you need something like a piece of wood, a hard surface in between the ironing board and the t-shirt, okay? So it's going to be ironing board, piece of wood preferably, a pillowcase or some type of covering or something to cover the wood, and then your t-shirt, then your image, and then your silicone sheet, and then your heat press. And don't get upset about what I just said because I'm going to show you here in a moment, okay? But I do want to point out to you in the instructions, it specifically tells you do not use an ironing board, okay? So right here, it says do not use an ironing board, okay? Do not use an ironing board. Now again, you can use an ironing board, but you're not ironing directly on top of the ironing board. You're going to lay down a piece of wood on top of your ironing board, okay? And then cover that piece of wood with something, some type of fabric, and then put your t-shirt on top of that, and then you'll be good to go, okay? So both your instruction sheets are going to tell you do not use an ironing board, okay? But again, you can use an ironing board, but you're not ironing directly on top of an ironing board, okay? All right. With your fabric transfers, so with sublimation, you saw me do 400 degrees at 60 for 60 seconds. You're going to have less press time for fabric transfers. It don't take as long, okay? They will have information in here to give you, and I actually think this tells you to look at your printer requirements and go based, not printer, your heat press. If you have a heat press, normally it'll tell you on your heat press what you should use for fabric transfer, so on and so forth. So normally it's going to be a low number, like 315, 320, somewhere in there for like 10 to 12 minutes, no longer than that, okay? I mean, 10 to 12 seconds, 10 to 12 minutes, 10 to 12 seconds. So it is a shorter time frame than your fabric transfers. And again, it doesn't have it on here. So like I said, normally they'll tell you to refer to your heat press instructions for fabric transfers. All right, now that we got that out of the way, just like with sublimation, I informed you that you want to wait at least 24 to 48 hours before you wash it. Same thing with fabric transfers. You want to wait before you wash it, okay? So you don't want to do a fabric transfer and then turn and throw it in the washing machine, okay? Another thing about fabric transfers is that you can feel it. You see how I'm rubbing on this? It sounds like fabric transfer to me, okay? Whereas if I rub directly onto the apron, you don't really hear it. But when I touch that, you can kind of hear it, okay? Now, I didn't make this. I don't know what this is made out of. It looks like vinyl to me, and it kind of feels like vinyl, but you can hear it, okay? All right, with sublimation, you can only see it. You cannot feel that sublimation on the shirt, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space. I'm going to print out an image. I'm going to make it super small. And then we're going to walk through the process of doing an iron on. Now, with iron on, you do not need the lint roller unless you just want to. The lint roller is more of a sublimation thing. I see people using the lint roller. You really don't need that lint roller for fabric transfers. You really don't, okay? You also don't need heat tape. Okay, so you will not need heat tape. When you get ready to do fabric transfers, all you're going to need is your transfer, your silicone sheet, and then your ironing board and piece of wood or your heat press, whatever you're using. I'm just going to say that I have a 16 by 24 heat press. So that's the size of my heat press because I do get a lot of questions about what size heat press do I have. So I'm going to put that out there. I didn't say it in my sublimation video, but I have a 16 by 24 heat press. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over into Cricut Design Space. I'm going to bring you up on the screen with me, and then we're going to come back and we'll do the press over at my heat press. All right. All right, guys, so here we are inside Cricut Design Space, and I'm using this image that this unicorn that I actually took from inside Cricut Design Space. If you're interested in the image, that's where it came from. And what we're going to do is I'm going to leave this set at 6 by 6, 6 inches wide, 6 inches height. I think that'll be large enough for this small size child's t-shirt. And it's going to be going on a red t-shirt. Now, two ways that you can see what that may look like. You can go to template, you can type in T-shirt and click on the magnifying glass and select Classic Tees. It's going to come up with a template here in just a moment. And you can just go here and select what type of shirt. We're just going to say kids, small, and then we're going to put the T-shirt on this dark red color that I'm going to be using. And that'll give you an idea of what your image will look like on that color T-shirt, okay? That's one way you can do it. You could also go in and you can click on shapes and you can just take a square and make it large enough and change that square to the size or the color of the T-shirt, and then click to send it to the back, and that'll also give you an idea of what that image will look like on your T-shirt. So I think that is going to look really nice on this red color T-shirt, okay? All right, so we have our sizing. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this square because we don't need it. And we're going to leave our image at 6 by 6, okay? So at this point, there's nothing else to do. And I know that initially in the beginning of my video, I said don't attempt to put this in your cutting machine, but I'm feeling that since this image is only going to cut around the surface area of the image, I'm going to go ahead and test out something new in Cricut Design Space, or new for me the first time I've tried it. I'm going to have you to try it with me. So we're going to click on Make It. Now, when you get to this point and it's a dark fabric transfer, all you want to do is click on Continue. Do not click Mirror On. Do not put Mirror On. Right here, it should say Mirror Off, and that's what you want, okay? You would send this image to your printer. So I'm going to click Send to Printer. You would select your printer. I don't use the bleed. I'm going to use my own print dialog from my printer. And if you have more than one printer connected, you want to make sure that you select the correct one because it will default. And I'm going to click on Preferences. I'm just going to make sure that this is coming out of the main paper tray. Okay. And I want to put it on best quality. And then I would go ahead and hit print. Okay. Now I've already printed this out, so I'm not going to print. At this point, we're going to click on Browse All Material. And you're going to type in Transfers. And we're going to use this Heat Transfer Non-Cricut. And they also have a transfer sheet. I'm going to go with the Heat Transfer Non-Cricut and see what that's like. And we're going to select Done. Now, when you get to this point, since we're doing a dark fabric transfer, you're going to not even pay attention to what they're telling you here. You're not going to mirror. If you're doing a light fabric transfer, then you will mirror, but we're doing a dark fabric transfer. So we're just going to make like this is not even here. Do not mirror that image, okay, if you're doing a dark fabric transfer. At this point, you want to go ahead and make sure that there's nothing in clamp A. You have your fine point blade in clamp B, and you can go ahead and place your printed image. It should have a black registration mark around it. You want to go ahead and place it in your cutting machine and have your cutting machine to cut it out for you, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and show you that process. So I'm going to bring myself up on camera. Give me one moment. So I have my image printed out, and you can see it's on the blue lines. So that's the dark fabric transfer. I'm going to be using my light grip because it doesn't require more than that. Thank you for throwing that, Doris. And I'm just going to line this up just the way it is in Cricut Design Space. And you want to make sure you get it lined up properly, because if you don't, then your cut is going to be off. So we're going to go ahead and place this down. I got it just like it is in Cricut Design Space, same direction and everything. This is your registration mark. Cricut is going to look for this registration mark so that it can identify where your cuts are. Now again, if this was an image that had cuts inside of the image, do not put that in your cutting machine because Cricut is going to cut it up and it's going to be like a puzzle trying to piece it together. I mean, basically it's going to be wasted, so don't do that. But since this is a full-blown image that is just going to cut the outer edges or around the image, then you can go ahead and put this in your machine and you should be fine, okay? So we're going to test it out. And I'm going to go ahead and insert my mat. And now I'm going to click on the Cricut logo. Just a little bit so you can kind of see my Cricut maker here. So Cricut is now looking for the registration marks so that it will know where to do the cuts, okay? And you want to make sure that that image is really nicely flat, laid down, because when you're working with paper, Cricut likes to tear it up. So we're going to see what happens with their non-Cricut fabric transfers. This is my first time using it. Normally, I would just manually cut it out myself. But this is how we learn, by testing stuff on our own. So we're going to see what happens. My image is nice and flat. Okay, so far so good. All right, release the mat. And we're going to see what happens. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper. And it's okay if it cuts through. Don't panic if it cuts through because you want that to happen anyway. So you got some areas up here that were a little bit tricky. Just take your time and taking it off of your mat here. I'm kind of helping it along as much as I can. Like I said, you know how paper is. When you're cutting in Cricut, paper can be a headache. Okay. Grab my scissors because there's some areas that didn't cut as well, and I don't want to mess up my image here. Okay, so you can see so far, let me show you what I have. So far you can see it has cut around the image and not inside the image. That's what I mean. And I'm just using my scissors to kind of help me along where Cricut is kind of like off a little bit. I'm just going to use my scissors to make sure I don't mess up my image. Okay. That in the trash. And I'm going to continue pulling to see how much of it actually cut. And I'll use my scissors wherever I need to. I'm just using my fingers to kind of push it down, kind of like a puzzle. So right here on the little tail, just trying to hold on. So I'm just going to put that little part right there. Put that in the trash, and we're almost homebound. So I'm going to grab my spatula to help me get it up off the mat, because this is a light grip, but it's really gripping, and I don't want to ruin my transfer. So I'm just going to use my spatula to help me, and then I'll make whatever necessary little cuts I need to make. All right, so here we have our transfer, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the little areas where Cricut fell short. Actually, let me see if I peel this white backing. So on your dark fabric transfers, guys, there's going to be, it has a backing that you have to peel off. That is why you do not mirror dark fabric transfer, okay? So I'm just going to cut around this little area right here. You may be able to get away with maybe doing possibly 2 cuts. You know, just reinsert it back in your mat. Don't take it out. Just hit the C again and let it go a second time, and it'll probably do better at the cut, but it's good enough for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the little parts that I need to. All right, so got one little area up here, but that's a whole lot better than having all that white around your image, okay? Because with the pin and gear, if you don't move that white part, it's going to be on your shirt, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to peel this white backing off, and we're going to be laying this flat down on our shirt, putting our silicone sheet on top, and then heat pressing it, okay? So let me see if I can find a nice area where I can start peeling the back off, because y'all know my nails don't act right sometimes. This right here look like I can get to the back. There we go. There we go, I think. Okay, be careful when you're pulling it up, because you don't want to mess up your transfer. So I'm just trying to get in right behind the backing. There we go. Okay. I'm just using my nail to kind of help me out here. There we go. And you're just going to peel. Peel that off so you guys can see that there is a backing on here. So you're going to peel that. And this is the transfer. This is dark fabric transfer. We had Cricut to cut it for us. Like I said, normally I would just, cut it out myself and not put it in a Cricut. So here is now my transfer that I'm going to lay on my shirt and put the silicone sheet on top. Let me do it this way. Where did my shirt go? It fell. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put it on the heat press. Got my shirt. I'm going to lay my fabric transfer on top, and then I'm going to press it, heat press it on. Okay. All right, so we're going to now go to the press, and I'm going to let you walk through the steps with me at the heat press. All right, one moment. All right, guys, we're at the heat press, and I have my shirt all laid out. We're going to go ahead and put our image down, And we're coming 3 fingers from the top, and we want to make it as center as possible. If you have your ruler, then use your ruler. And that looks beautiful because we don't have that white border going all around our image or cutting it ourselves. And, you know, it looks really nice. All right, so we're going to press this at 325 medium pressure for 20 seconds. So I'm going to put that silicone sheet that comes in your pen and gear. Make sure that all of your image is laying flat and nice like it's supposed to. Otherwise, you're going to end up with that being pressed into your shirt. So I see one little bit right here that I don't like, so I'm going to clip that. There we go. Take that off. Now, that looks better. All right, so now we have our image. My press is ready at 325 for 20 seconds. Put your silicone sheet on. Okay, and now we're going to press. We're at 11 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And just that easy, we now have our shirt pressed. You want to wait at least 24 hours before you wash this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my heat press off, and then I'm going to turn you around here so that you can see my smiling face. All right, so here's our image now transferred onto our shirt. Doesn't it look nice? Okay, and so even though it's a fabric transfer, you know, you don't have to worry about anyone knowing that it's a complete fabric transfer, because there's not all this white that you've cut around, or it looks like you just took a piece of paper. Let me pull that up. It looks like you just took a piece of paper and laid it on something and pressed down a whole sheet of paper. This looks much nicer, especially if you were going to sell it to someone, guys. That looks much nicer than having just a big sheet of paper, you know, laying on your t-shirt. Okay, so like I said, you want to wait at least 24 hours before you wash this. Okay, and those are the instructions that you would give if you were, you know, actually making this to sell to somebody. But 325 medium pressure, 20 seconds. If you're using an iron, on pen and gear, on that instruction sheet, it tells you exactly how much time for using an iron. But again, please make sure that you are not ironing directly on top of an ironing board. Okay, put that piece of wood down between your shirt and the ironing board. Okay, but your press time will be a little bit longer for an iron because you're trying to, you know, press the entire image, whereas it's shorter on a heat press, as you saw me press it for 20 seconds. Okay, so just read your instructions in your pen and gear. I get a lot of people to say, you know, after a few washes, my t-shirt started peeling and cracking. That's because somewhere along the lines, either your pressure wasn't right on your press, your heat time wasn't right, or your heat time or the heat degree was not correct. And if you're using an iron, you know, it'll last for a while. I'll tell you that it'll last for a while, but there's no guarantees because you can't really judge the amount of pressure you're using with an iron and the real true temperature that you're getting with an iron. So your best results are normally going to come from a heat press. And I have several shirts that I've had for years that I heat pressed using pen and gear and Josie, and they have not started peeling yet, and I washed them. So anyway, in the regular wash machine, nothing special. Okay, all right guys, so this is your dark fabric transfer using pen and gear. We did even though I said in the initial part of this video, do not put it in your cutting machine and have it to cut it out. You can if it is a full image. If it's a full image like this, then you can, and use the instructions that I have in the video on using the transfers and the search when you browse for materials. Browse for your materials and then use transfers in the search and select the non-Cricut fabric transfers, non-Cricut fabric transfers. Now, if you're doing white or light, I always say white. If you're doing light fabric transfers, then you do want to follow the instructions to mirror that image and lay it face down. If, however, you are doing dark fabric transfers, do not mirror the image. Follow exactly what you saw in this video. I will do another tutorial on a light fabric transfer using the information in Cricut, just so we see how it turns out, because normally I just cut mine out, but you know, I end up with a thick white around it and I don't like that. So this was much cleaner, much neater. Okay, and you saw me have Cricut to cut it out. Okay, all right guys, so all you will need to do a dark fabric transfer, of course, is your cotton t-shirt that you're going to put it on, your pin and gear or whatever fabric transfer you're going to use. If you're using something other than pin and gear, then make sure you follow the instructions per that transfer brand. And then either your cutting machine to cut it out, Cricut Design Space, wherever you're going to get your image from, and yeah, your heat press. And then if you're going to use an iron, then by all means make sure that you're using that wood. Okay, all right guys, that's the end of my story. And I love my apron, y'all. I love my apron. I love my apron, as you can tell. It says keep calm and craft on. Okay, but you guys know my motto, which I'm going to say here in a moment. But listen, if you're currently subscribed to my YouTube channel, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you like my method of teaching and you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I'm here. I'm really here to help you. I really am. And what else? Like and share my YouTube videos. And if you're following me on Facebook, my group is Ken Doris's Cricut and Creative Crafters. It is a private group. I focus on teaching people how to craft, and it's not about show and tell. Okay, so if you really need help with crafting, this is the place to be. Okay, because I love helping people. Okay, but again, my Facebook group name is Ken Doris's Cricut and Creative Crafters. Send me a Facebook group request to that group and we can get you in. And yeah, that's it guys. I'm gonna keep these tutorials coming because this is my Christmas gift to everyone that subscribed to my channel, and even those that aren't, and also those that are my Facebook group. Okay, I'm here for you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. And you know my motto, each one reach one so that each one can teach one. And you guys have a great day. Bye.